Just before the Civil War completely broke out in 1982, we migrated here. Having that feeling of not being wanted, kind of always, and not having the opportunities as a minority in Sri Lanka gave me a lot of drive and desire to do a lot of things in the United States that I couldn't do there. One would be to own a business. And coming out of school, like I said previously, that the analytical, numerical, they're innate qualities that I've had, and they were kind of refined in school. Coming out of school, taking those factors, putting them together in an industry which I believe is really number-oriented, it was a good match. It was not me opening a restaurant. It was not me opening a convenience store and selling food that I have to throw away. It's a hard, durable product, which even if I don't know anything about it, as long as it's not fake, it's going to go up in value with inflation. And that was my dream, was to own a business. And essentially with gemstones, your capital is based on what you have. And you can essentially buy a gemstone for $2 or $5 up to hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, or actually millions of dollars. So it's actually giving me the ability to work, own a business, and have control over what direction I go by owning a business. I led a simple life. That was key. And by doing that, I was able to save as much money as I could by just buying the gemstones. When I made one trip to Sri Lanka in July of 2006, July 24th, 2006. And I went down there with no gemological background. The only thing that I had on my side was key instincts. And that was it. Instincts, and we have a sense of what are our senses, our five senses. So instinct and senses put together, I felt like I was able to make reasonable decisions, which did not later on come back to bite me. Initially, it was just a buying. You could say I was a dealer. Right now, I don't like to be considered a dealer. I look at myself as a merchant. And there's a distinct difference between the two. So a dealer, essentially, they buy and sell and trade. So I used to go to Sri Lanka. The first trip was July of 2006. The second trip was November 2006. And essentially, I was looking at whatever capital I have. I find some contacts that would be interested in it. It didn't matter who it was that I was selling it to, as long as they would be able to have the money to pay me for it so I can turn it around and go back, purchase some more, and come back. So that was my initial model for about a first year and a half. And that started in 2006, and around 2008, there was a serious recession in the US. And at that point in 2008, I would say that my monthly cash flow was a third of what it was the first 6 months. So 2 years in, you'd think with experience, you're going to be generating more business, but actually the opposite happened. And as the recession became worse, my expenditures actually were going up because I was trying to travel more for business, but the sales were going down because no one would buy. So in 2008, I worked towards vertical integration, and I partnered with some friends in Sri Lanka in mining. And I basically borrowed money. And it goes against everything that anyone ever told me that you should do in our industry, which is borrow. But it was a hands-on education, and that went on. Vertical integration, the vertically integrated company went on for 5 years. I compare it, my 8-10 years in the industry is the equivalent of a PhD. I have strong theoretical knowledge from some of the best in Sri Lanka on heat treatment. I would say I learned my cutting information was from some of the best in Sri Lanka. and mining was all hands on with strong backers. So from 2008 till about 2013, the mining went on, and the information I learned is incredible. It's an experience that I wouldn't ever change. I wouldn't have wanted it any other way. And the one thing I tell customers is the intellect and information that I've learned is worth way more than the product that I sell. So what ended up happening is I've always been a caring, compassionate person. Caring for whether it's animals, my family, or just a person on the street. That's an innate part of who I am. And about 3 years ago, someone brought it to my attention. I didn't even understand what sustainability was. I had to go, after they brought up that word, I had to go and read about it. And then I realized, that's exactly what I do. And I think since that time, I've made an effort marketing is just a part of being here. I have marketed myself as sustainable for probably the last 1.5 to 2 years. But it's also a term which I strongly believe in, because it encompasses so many parts of my life and also the direction in which our society is going. I think a non-sustainable society builds a lot of instability, and instability causes a lot of problems in society, in economics. You can see what the problems are right now in the United States, and it's a sustainability issue. Sustainability encompasses a lot of factors. From a business standpoint, to my customers here, it's about what I term customized vertical integration. So my customer has a specific product that they want. They want it direct from a mine. But because of the vertical integration, they have a specific order I'm able to fill. It's very particular. I'm able to take it out of multiple mines, which I'm connected with personally, and have it in a controlled environment, meaning from the time I hold it in my possession till it's in their hand, it's controlled. No one else is touching it other than my employees. And that means out of the mine, into the furnace for heating if needed, into the hands of the cutter, to the specifications of the customer, and then it's delivered. So customized vertical integration. So what I've started working on, and this is where the sustainability impact on that community is important, is I've designed a model, and it's something that's always going to be evolving until I feel it's refined. But the model revolves around education and training. And I don't go to Sri Lanka to buy. I've ingrained that into the people who I employ there. I ingrained it into the gemstone community in Sri Lanka, who every day when I wake up, they see me. They see me walking on the street. They see me interacting with other dealers. And the one thing that I'm passionate about is training these guys to get to the standard that I need them to be at. So essentially what happens is I go on a 7-day trip to Sri Lanka. I drive to Ratnapura, major mining, major trading center in Sri Lanka. And I set up meetings every day with groups of people and train them on my specifications, what my customers need, and their standard. So these groups could start off with 30, 40, 50 people. And over the course of the training, it's just weaned down to a final 2, 3, 4 people who I believe are going to be able to go out and search for the material that I need to spec. So even if it's coming out of the mine, they're going to verify, they're going to carry the information to my cutter. Cutter will verify and then convey the information to me. Everything is purchased unseen. As long as I build trust, a strong relationship, compassion, and they understand that I care about them, honestly care about them and their well-being, and actually carrying that model over into the following generation with their children and their families, basically from the inside out expanding. that's the only way we're going to be able to improve our industry. And that's something that we need to like cohesively agree on, is if our industry wants to see improvement, education is the only way. So my master buyer, master cutter, he kind of plays a couple roles for me. He's a phenomenal cutter. He's had a little bit of misfortune in his life. That's how we met. And that was what initially drew me to him, is I want to help this man out. He's skilled. That's all that I ask for, is if you're hardworking and you have a skill, I'll improve that skill and I'll help your family. So with Rosario, yep, he had a skill. I saw it in his work. He's not able to communicate very well with me, but it's a business of numbers. What we were able to put together a numerical grading system and a numerical method of communication that we didn't need to actually speak sentences. We just spoke numbers.